Welcome to the Thriving Musician Podcast, hosted by certified financial planner Spencer List. Tune in to hear inspiring stories from music professionals on their journey to financial independence. Plus, gain valuable insights from industry experts on how to level up your finances, career, and life. Here's your host, Spencer List.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Thriving Musician Podcast. Today I have a special guest in Patricia De Fonte. She's an estate planning attorney and the founder of Fonte Law PC, a boutique estate planning firm that works with clients over Zoom all over California. She started the firm to offer what she thinks of as estate planning with heart. She wanted to create a better experience for her clients to preserve family harmony, empower their heirs, and thoughtfully reflect their values. And she also helps, we'll talk about this, she helps make sure you have other professionals, they all work together, and make sure you're living the life that you want and have everything set up how you want. And she loves what she does. When she's not working at the firm, you will most likely find her reading The New Yorker in her backyard under her lemon tree, on vacation, watching zombie shows, or spending time with family and friends. Clients and friends have told her that she's naturally warm and relatable. I agree. And she will treat you as one of her own until Cards Against Humanity comes out, then all bets are off.
Bets are off.
Welcome, Patricia.
Thank you so much for having me. I think one thing that I'm not highlighting in my bio, but I think maybe important here is that I was a copyright litigator and an entertainment lawyer for about 5 years. That was my first law job.
Right.
And before that, I worked in television, not on television, but in television, behind the scenes doing contracts. And so I have many, many, many years of experience working in the entertainment industry and adjacent to entertainment.
That's right. Okay, so before we get into all the good stuff, what happens when Cards Against Humanity happens?
We can't really talk about that because we don't want to use those words on this podcast.
Have you ever it's always funny, we have I'll make my grandma play and read the cards. And she'll read it and you see her face and then she'll say it, but she doesn't want to.
It's too much fun. It's too much fun.
Okay, so tell us you told us a little bit about your background before, what you're doing now. So tell us what got you into doing law, what led you to the entertainment industry, what's led you to start your own business. Give us the
Sure. So I was working in entertainment. I actually lived in Italy and I was working for a satellite television platform there, but I decided I wanted to come home to San Francisco. At the time in 98, everything was .com, but I had just been at a huge startup and I didn't want to do it anymore. So I decided I was going to go hide and go back to school, which was a good decision because there was the .com bomb. But shortly after I started school, one of my first internships was with an attorney who she calls herself an art lawyer. So representing muralists, musicians, visual artists. And then the permanent job that I got when I graduated from law school was with an entertainment boutique. So we were full service to entertainment clients, which means I got to go to every show, every play. Absolutely fantastic. Spent a lot of time in the courtroom fighting over copyright issues, and which was really great work because I loved working with artists and entertainers when I worked in television. And to be able to do that as a lawyer, understanding how to work with that type of client, right? An artist's brain works a little bit differently. Their schedules are a little bit different. And the kind of people that they're used to being around are not a lot of people in suits, not a lot of dark blue, not a lot of sitting in rooms where the walls are all made of wood. So take a lot of pride in my work with artists because I've been around them my whole life. And I think I know as an attorney how to approach them.
And for people who don't know, not all attorneys are in a courtroom, which I assume that you're not going to court anymore, but it takes a certain kind of person to go to court.
Yeah, I'm not that person anymore.
What
children.
changed?
I had 2 children and I wanted, the reason that I changed to estate planning is I thought I'd stay home for 2 years with my kids. I stayed home for 9 years. So by the time I was getting ready to go back to work, I realized I really don't want to go back into entertainment law. I can't go to shows at night. I
Mm-hmm.
can't start work at 11.
Yeah.
This is a completely different life that I have now. I have a few friends who practice estate planning. They have always spoken really highly of the practice. And they reminded me, like, you can still work with the kinds of clients that you want to work with. You're just talking about something a little bit different. And I'm so glad that I found this practice area. I also joined up in this practice area because I saw a couple of terrible things happen to people that I loved. They lost people and things were not set up properly. And I thought, I can stop that from happening. I can help people so that family harmony is preserved. Families are not torn apart because the paperwork wasn't right, because things weren't communicated properly. What I've discovered is that it's a kind of a magical practice area where we get to educate clients, help them, get them organized. And I've had people say to me, we've been married for 13 years, but I really feel married now. And all the years that I've been practicing law, it's only my estate planning clients who have ever picked me up and twirled me around. So I can tell you, it's a great feeling the day that you sign your documents.
Yeah, and you're also taking them through a lot of conversations that they might not have had before, or just I do the same thing, and asking questions that they might not have thought of before, and taking them deeper than just what name do you want here. It's more than that, of course. What's your experience been? Do you have any that come to mind that were particularly heartwarming or just enlightening or just that stand out to you, like in your practice?
If I think about artists that we've worked with, recently we worked with a musician, and she had a huge record collection. She had tour notebooks with all of that ephemera and all like the band stuff. She had all of that. She had works that were in progress on her laptop. She had works that she owned and were registered with the Copyright Office, and then sound recordings were owned by the label. And then she also had some of her own stuff, 100% hers, even the sound recordings, but she also had been in a band. And so then we've got that shared copyright and then all the underlying contracts. She had no idea because she's just working. And she didn't really realize the just how big her portfolio was. And, you might think, well, my songs aren't worth anything. It doesn't matter. But you have to remember that anytime somebody passes away, someone is going to marshal your assets. And your assets are your musical compositions. Your assets are the sound recordings. Your assets, it's your record collection. It's what are we doing with this equipment? Because we can't let equipment just lie fallow for a year and a half while your estate's being sorted out, because it's not good for equipment to just be sitting in a dusty room.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of things that we really have to think about. Another client we worked with was a photographer. So he wanted to leave his pictures to certain people. We said, okay, so is that a print of the picture? Is it the limited series that you ran? Was this film or a digital? So where's the original and how are we dealing with that? And then let's talk about reproduction rights. What can be done with these? And he was completely blown away. And he said, I didn't know that I could parse it out this way. And I want my physical photographs to go to my family, but I want the reproductive right to go to a nonprofit, because he took a lot of pictures of nature. And so he gave it to a nature conservancy. And so that they can print and do t-shirts and do all that stuff with his beautiful work. I worked recently with a drag queen who unfortunately passed away, left his right of publicity. So the right to use his face and likeness and voice for a commercial purpose. And so this nonprofit that he left his right of publicity to, they can monetize his personality and raise funds for a cause that was really important to him. So it's really creative, honorable, fun work. And I'll tell you, every single client has questions about the things that they own and how they own it. And they're always surprises, even for the most quote unquote vanilla plan. But when we're working with artists, it's like pulling out an accordion of just more and more and more and more facets and more things.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. I love those stories. Can you give us a basic rundown for people who've never even heard of estate planning, what those documents might be? Can you just tell us what it is, why it's important, and is there anything beyond the basics that you want to make sure people understand?
Estate planning really answers 3 questions. What about me? What about my stuff? And what about the people I leave behind? So for what about me, what we're thinking about is who has the authority and the detailed instructions as to how to care for you, make really big decisions for you if you bump your head. So your health, but then also you have your healthcare proxy, but there's also the person who has to operate as you in the world, right? You have contracts with other people. Who's dealing with that? Who's dealing with your landlord? Who is collecting your paycheck, right? Who is doing all of those things for you, because they can't just step in and do it. They need to have authority. No third party is going to talk to them without that authority. When we think about what about my stuff, it's important to understand what your stuff is. And I just said a bunch of complicated things about the copyright interests. But we have to make sure that they're getting to the right people, preferably without court oversight. If you do nothing, the court is involved in the transfer of your property onto your next closest blood relative. You can use a will, and then there's court oversight, and you can leave your stuff to whomever you like. Or you can use a trust, and by using a trust, you're protecting the privacy of the people that you're leaving your assets to, and you also have some control. If you just leave your copyright interest in your compositions through a will, then you're not putting any restraints as to what that music can be used for. And we have all heard our favorite song used in a commercial that we never want to see again. And you can absolutely, within your estate plan, say, I'm giving this musical composition to Spencer, but Spencer, whatever you do not use it for a commercial purpose. It can be exploited for nonprofits. You can, for movies, it's fine, but I don't want it in a commercial. Here's the danger zone with this. Gabriel Garcia Marquez put that instruction in his estate plan to his sons. And they decided, we know Dad doesn't want this published, but we're going to publish it anyway. So if you have things that you don't want out into the world, then what a lot of my clients do is they'll leave it to a really trusted person with the instruction to destroy. Like everybody's got that one friend who'll just do it. Because it's hard to destroy things while you're still alive, right? It's hard to do that. So what about me? What about my stuff? And then we have to think about what about the people I'm leaving behind? Are they okay? Is leaving them money going to hurt them in some way? Are they minors? Because if they're minors, a judge is going to decide about the money. Maybe you have children and you're thinking, well, I'm just going to leave each of them the same amount. But they're adult children and their situations are really different. And one of them would be fine getting cash, but the other one maybe is looking at a divorce or major medical. So we wanted to design and craft that a little bit differently. Another thing that we think about what about the people I leave behind, of course, is guardianship for minor children. There's a really old stodgy way to do that, which is just name a couple of names in a will. And even if you have a trust, you have a will that tells the court that you passed. That's not really giving the judge, who is a person, much to go on, right? For all we know, this might be the judge's first week on that bench because judges move around. And so this judge has to make a determination, what is in the best interest of your minor children? At my firm, it starts at 6 pages, the emergency contacts, who the clients think should serve as the guardians, why, why not these other people? And then we list all of your best friends, all your close family members so that the judge knows who to go and interview when they're doing this investigation to determine what's in the children's best interest. So it's a pretty robust document. It's also a fun parenting vision, like a vision and a mission statement. It's pretty bonding to do that with your co-parent. And if you're not close to your co-parent, you give it to them and then they get jealous and then they go get an estate plan done. So the kids win. You really can't go wrong.
That's amazing. Whenever I've had a few stories where I've reviewed estate plans and the minor guardian lived in Australia and we had the conversation, they just hadn't thought about it. I don't know if they moved there or they just kind of decided without thinking. And the question was, so if this were to happen, obviously we don't want it to, would they move here? Would the child move there? Do you even want that kind of distance to happen? And of course, that's a more basic sort of, obstacle, but the ones you described are, far, far greater of, all the different possibilities. And we have to think about all these little minutiae. And then we also have to you might change your mind.
You
So
will
tell me a
change
little
your
bit more
mind.
about yeah, exactly. Yeah. Your life will change and you will change your mind. The people that you've designated for things will change, whether, they've passed away or they've changed their
Mhm.
lifestyle or your relationship with them has changed. Can you talk a little bit about how changes can be made or how
Sure.
often should you be thinking about this?
Okay, so if anybody ever tells you, "Oh, our estate plan is done. We did that ages ago." Please grab them and take them to see their lawyer. You really should. This is something you should review with your lawyer every 3 to 5 years. Even if you feel like
Yeah.
everybody that you named in your documents is perfectly fine and it works great. Even if you have 100% transferred all of your assets to the trust, all your beneficiary designations are perfect, everything's titled perfectly, and there's no trouble there, and you think it's perfect, you have to go see the lawyer because you don't know what your state legislature has done, what the voters of your state may have gotten up to, and, Congress. Plus, just case law. A judge in some town near you has issued an order that might have an impact on your plan. You have to go back and talk to your estate planning lawyer, review the documents with them to make sure that your plan still does exactly what it is supposed to do. In the last 5 years, here in California, we had a big change to the way real estate is inherited. And nationally, in 2019, there was a big change to the way that retirement accounts are inherited. And so who knows what's coming next? Generally, you would pay to have any changes made. Here's the trick. Only the lawyer who drafted your initial documents, your original documents, can make amendments, can go in and change paragraph 7 and just do a one document amendment that changes paragraph 7. No other lawyer can do this because we would lose our malpractice insurance, right? Because once we touch one part of the documents, the entire plan now falls under
Mhm.
it's our problem if there's something wrong in those documents. So unfortunately, if you've
Mhm.
gotten an estate plan done relatively recently, but you're, last let's say like within the last 5 to 10 years, and you try to go back to that lawyer, but they've retired or passed away,
Mhm.
you're going to be on deck to create a new relationship with a new lawyer. And that new lawyer, a good one, will not do just your trust. They're going to say, no, I need to do the trust, the healthcare, because every lawyer is going to have their own protocol and their own series of questions and their own technique to make sure that all of the documents work together.
And can you share with people who are thinking about doing this so that they understand um, about the rules about the state by state and working with an attorney in your state? Does it have to be the state you live in?
You really should work
How does
with
that work?
a lawyer in the state where you are a resident. Here, I'm in California, I work with California clients. We're a community property state. We have really weird laws around real estate inheritances, and we do not have our own estate tax. The estate tax, the federal estate tax is you can have X amount of money, and if you have more than that, then you have to pay estate tax. The number is ridiculous. It's going to change, so I'm not going to say what it is. In California, we
Mhm.
don't have
Yeah.
that, but in other states, they're not community property. Their probate laws are completely different, but they have an estate tax that comes due when one spouse dies. Very different. And so as you move from jurisdiction to
Mhm.
jurisdiction, it's really important that you have counsel in your new jurisdiction review your documents. It doesn't mean that if you move, your documents fail. You just might be missing an opportunity. Here in California, we have the right of publicity. In other states, they don't have it. So you would want to opt in on that here. But then, if one of my clients moved to like Washington State, they need their documents redone because Washington State has its own estate tax.
So when does it make sense for someone to start drafting this plan? And what does it look like to work with an attorney? And feel free to
Sure.
share, like, what does it look like to work
So
with you?
really one of the biggest triggers for estate planning is just turning 18. And that doesn't mean you need, you know, a full ream of paper and a big fancy binder, but it does mean that you need an advanced healthcare directive. It does mean you need a durable power of
Yeah.
attorney, and it might mean that you need a simple will. Most states have their own statutory documents for these. Most medical centers have an advanced healthcare directive that usually comes with like an online workshop or even an in-person workshop. And if you have any underlying medical conditions, you can always go through it with your doctor. They're great. Doctors are a great resource for advanced healthcare directives. Once you start amassing a bit of stuff and you're worried about, oh, I have minor kids, or I want to leave all this to my sister, but she has substance abuse problems, or, you buy a piece of real estate, then you're in the realm of you have to work with a lawyer. And there are different types of approaches with estate planning. Some lawyers are purely transactional. Tell me what you want your plan to say. I will draft that up for you. I will hand it to you. You will sign it and we will hug and release. You're never going to see that person again. That kind of planning honestly makes me nervous. Because the lawyer doesn't know what the lawyer doesn't know about you and your family. And I think it's just unfair. I don't like it. I take a completely different approach, even though I have an LL.M in estate planning, which is a master's degree. So everybody thinks that I do these giant taxable estates. I don't. I work with regular people. And the most simple scenario at my firm is married with a baby and a house. And we still, with that client, we need them for 4 hours over 3 meetings. We have to ask them so many questions, 2 hours worth of questions. The next meeting, we go through the documents with them so that they understand the documents, because you don't know if your friend Pat is the perfect person to manage all your assets and do everything related to the trust until we show you the whole job. Because sometimes clients say, oh, I thought Pat was going to be perfect for this, but now I'm concerned. Okay, well, let's talk about it. What is concerning you? And we can add in a pressure release valve? Should we change the name? Should we change the order? And then we have a final meeting where we invite the financial advisor after the documents are signed. And that's when we go through the list of assets, line by line by line by line. You're going to make a title change. You're going to make a beneficiary change. We're going to talk about these retirement accounts. And then we're available. We're always available. I don't want my clients buying real estate without telling me. When they get a new job, I want to hear about it. I want to hear about getting pregnant, not we just had a baby. So for me, being accessible to my clients is really important. I'm their hub.
Are there any provisions that you commonly see overlooked or in other plans, or that people aren't thinking about that they should be?
The old way of leaving people money is here's your money. And even parents with minor children. Oh, okay, the kids can have their money when they're 25, 30, and 35. Okay. You use a trust so that you can exert control from the grave, so that you can really state an opinion about the best and highest use of money. You can also use your trust to acknowledge that inherited money feels bad. And so we add a lot of loving language to our trust, especially for our clients with minor children. Get out and self-actualize, be a contributing member of society. Art and music and aesthetics are important and should be valued. All of these things are baked into our documents. I almost never draft any gift that says, here, you just get your money. The trustee always has a little bit of discretion, because we never know if somebody's just going to be in a rough spot, in a tight spot, like major medical, right? All of a sudden you have a ton of creditors. I'd rather have some protections around that. And when it comes to my clients' children, we never say you get your money when you're 25, 30, and 35. We say, look, if you need money, come and ask. Here's a list of things we would like you to explore. Start a business, travel, spend time with your family, with your siblings. Please get a lawyer, a CPA, and a financial advisor. We'll pay for that. And then, of course, and then as time goes by, the children, as they get a little bit older, they can come and ask for some assets. Can I have a bit of money just to do whatever? It's a cleaner structure, I think, because it really puts the beneficiary in the driver's seat. They get to make decisions as to when they want to pull that money out, and they can wait until they have their whole team in place. They've got terrific insurance. They're very, very organized. It stops other people from being able to come to them with their hand out, because they can always say, oh, the trustee won't. I don't know. I can't even, meet with a trustee. I can't help you. A lot of my clients are also working in technology, and so their compensation structures are a little bit different. And they don't like the idea of money that's been sitting in a trust and accumulating tax exposure being pushed out onto a beneficiary who might be, maybe they're getting a huge bonus. They have to, their RSUs are vesting. If we think about it in the entertainment world, the salaries, the wages are up and down and up and down. How much you earn from one year to the next can vary greatly. And so maybe you don't want to have to pull out money this year because you got paid this year, but next year
Yeah.
could be different. And so, I
Yeah.
think it's really important to not just think everything's going to be okay, but let's really work towards making things okay, giving the beneficiaries the best shot that they have at opting out of that 33% of people who lose everything within 3 years.
Can you briefly touch on, you mentioned a few of the documents, the advanced medical directive, durable power of attorney, medical power of attorney. Can you just talk a little bit about what those are and why they're so
Sure.
important?
Yeah. So an advanced healthcare directive is just absolutely critical. It gives the right person the authority, but also the instructions to take care of you if you hit your head. So they're going to make all of your medical decisions for you. A typical advanced healthcare directive is here's who's in charge, whether or not you want to donate your organs, whether or not you want to be cremated or buried, and whether or not to pull the plug. And these are all really important things. But I'd like you to go further. I'd like to be buried or cremated, and here's where. Or I want a mushroom suit, or I want a Viking funeral, and I want it to be held here. Like, get specific. Organ donation, get really specific. Is this for education, therapy, transplant? What is this for? Are you okay being used as medical cadaver? I don't know. Right? When we think about the people in your life, maybe there's somebody in your life who's just an agent of chaos, and you don't want them anywhere near you. If you're in the hospital, you don't want them upsetting your mother. You just don't. Maybe it's your co-parent, and the only reason they should ever be on that hospital floor is to comfort the children that you have together. So don't put the burden on your person to say, Nancy never liked you, you better leave. It says right here that Nancy does not like you and you must leave. I don't want to have to go talk to security, but you need to leave. For the durable power of attorney, very different. This allows people to step into your shoes and act as you. And so this is what, like, say banking needs to be done. Your person is going to walk into the bank with this document. Where it can get a little bit tricky is the banks don't like to accept the documents because they immediately assume fraud, right? It's not because they're trying to be difficult. They just knee-jerk assume fraud. And I think that's probably good and right. You can go to your bank and say, do you have a form of power of attorney that I can sign? And I can bring in my friend, my parent, my sibling, my spouse, and they can do it too. So if anything happens to me, this person can operate as me. If you cannot yet work with a lawyer to get a durable power of attorney done, the banks are just more comfortable if they see that a lawyer has co-signed the document.
You hinted at it earlier, but how would you describe like all of the different professional team members that you recommend and how they work together?
Yeah.
What does that look like from your perspective?
Typically a client will have, of course, an estate planning lawyer. That's me. A financial advisor or a coach, a money coach, or an investment advisor, or sometimes all three. We always talk about the who's doing your taxes, and really having a talk about it, not just saying who's your CPA, but do you meet with your CPA in February after you've given them all the documents and that person tells you the story of your taxes? Or are you meeting with them periodically throughout the year so that you can write the story of your taxes together? And we've moved a lot of clients from tax prep to tax planning, which can be a huge cost savings. We also ask them about all of their insurance. I'm very nervous about DIY insurance. I know that the insurance commercials are super cute. Please do not buy your insurance from those companies. It doesn't cost you any more to work with a local reputable broker. You need to have either auto or home, renter or home, auto, and you have to have umbrella insurance. It's non-negotiable. You have to have umbrella insurance. It's additional liability insurance that kind of sits over your home renter's auto. And so if you go out and you cause an accident, that is what's going to save your house, your bank account, your future wages. And I feel the same way about employee benefit, life, and disability. I always want a financial advisor or a really good insurance broker to look at the employee benefits, all of the employee benefits, like all the Easter eggs within the package, but really those two pieces of insurance. Sometimes there's long-term care. Make recommendations about how to either max them out, because sometimes they're great and you can get a lot of insurance very, very cheaply. But we're also looking at, when I leave this job, can I take these policies with me? If I can, What's that going to cost? It's going to cost a mint. And so or I can't. Either way, clients usually want to purchase supplemental life and disability insurance because that's what's really going to protect you and give you peace of mind. So every time a client comes to me for estate planning, they wind up spending a little bit more money than they do just with me because I'm pushing them to get not some insurance, great insurance. Pushing them to enhance their relationship with their CPA, which is usually more expensive. It's not always warranted. If you're a couple of W-2 employees, you probably don't need tax planning. But if you have rental properties and you're getting residuals and it's more complicated, that might be worth a discussion. And helping clients understand whether they have an investment advisor or a financial advisor or a financial planner, and whether that person is a fiduciary, and enhancing that relationship. And I always like to talk to the financial advisor either before or early in the engagement with a client to get that advisor's point of view. Like, what are you worried about? What points do you want us to hit with this client? What have you been trying to get them to do? And just through one thing and another, it hasn't happened yet, because we kind of put our clients through a little meat grinder. It's estate planning with heart. It's a pretty luxury experience, but we're still pretty adamant. You have to do these insurance reviews. You can't say, well, I'm not interested in long-term care insurance if you're 55 years old, single parent. It's like, you can tell me you're not interested in it after you do all the homework about it. Then you can tell me. But you can't just say it now, because I can force you to go investigate it now. So I'm going to make you do it.
Yeah. Well, I love that you're doing that and you're speaking my language. Is there anything else about estate planning you want to get off your chest, or that people need to know about or be thinking about?
I think it needs to be talked about a lot. If you have an estate plan, please tell people that you did it. Normalize it. Estate planning protects women. Think about the older women in your life. Make sure that their spouses and partners are honoring them by having an up-to-date plan, fully funded. Everything is incredibly organized. I see it all the time. Hey, I ask my clients, your parents have an estate plan? We'll check with them. Yep, dad said it's fine. When was the last time they saw the lawyer? 20 years ago. Not fine. Not okay. So I think the more that we talk about it and normalize it, the better. Because right now, only like 30% of white people with money have an estate plan. The numbers are a lot worse for every other cohort. It's going to have a huge impact on the movement of money from one generation to the next. And I don't worry about people with 20, 30, $40 million having an estate plan. Their estate can take the hit. A normal family, the estate cannot take the hit.
I agree completely. What is your definition of a thriving musician?
I think that a thriving musician is a musician who has the money and the time to actually invest in their art. That's what I think about. If I think about the artists and musicians in my life, they're not happily creating when there are a lot of external pressures. And the biggest external pressure can be money. So I think that Spencer, that's why I love what you do, because you have this very practical approach to money. And I think you and I share this. The point of money is to provide you with time and calm so that you can really get to do the things that are vital to you. And for a musician, for an artist, that's, really close to the top of the list.
I'll add to my definition of a thriving musician would be someone who has the money and the time and the team and the organization set up, right, for them, all these people that can help them, like yourself. Even though it's not a one-time thing, even just getting started, I can only imagine the relief someone would feel knowing that you've thought of everything and you've worked through things that you didn't even think about. And then now you have it in place and you know how things are going to go. I imagine the creativity flow that can come once the obligations of life sort of have been taken care of. I think that's something that you're certainly helping people with on a
It,
daily basis.
it eliminates that noise in the back of your head. I should do this. I should do this. I should do this.
Mhm.
It's really fun working with artists because all of a sudden they have a catalog by the time we're done working together. There are lists and lists and lists of
Right.
things, um, and things that are now insured because we've told the insurance company
Yeah.
about them, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's really deeply satisfying.
How can listeners learn more about you and or get in touch
Sure.
with
So
you?
my name is Patricia De Fonte, and my firm is Estate Planning with Heart. If you Google either one of those things, I pop right up. My team and I work with clients all over California on Zoom. So my firm is me, and I have two really great lawyers who work with me. They're not junior lawyers; they're seasoned lawyers, and they're both down in Southern California. And our support team are military spouses, and so I could tell you where they are, but then they're going to move. They're always moving. So we're a 100% virtual team. Most of us have met in person, but we're very bonded and we are united in having a great work process for ourselves so that we are incredibly efficient, and then having a really great client experience for the client, so that they don't feel so much the use of all the technology. We're really just focused with them on what feels like the right thing. What do you have in mind? Do you understand what we just talked about? Do you understand the options? And crafting a plan that is perfectly right for them at that time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Patricia. I look forward to us talking again soon, and we can do another one of these. I'm sure people will have questions at the time of this recording. My child is not born, but it probably will be by the time we do another episode. Talk about the changes of having a child in your estate plan. Anyways, thank you so much for your time. This was amazing, insightful, and I think people will certainly enjoy your insights.
Thank you so much for having me. And absolutely, we can do Q&A next time.
So if you enjoyed this interview, you found it helpful, and you're ready to get started on your estate planning, feel free to share with another thriving musician, or better yet, leave a review on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And I hope you have a great day. Keep thriving.
Want more ideas, tools, and resources on how to achieve financial independence? Visit motifplanning.com. Read the leading financial blog for music professionals, sign up for the financial literacy newsletter, and keep thriving.